Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Here we are, the second Hayabusa engine that I picked up in Missouri, about 5 hours away. I ordered some parts, main bearings. I didn't like the look of the main bearings. They were still usable, but you know, the engine's open, so I just replaced them. I had one very damaged shift fork. This is the second gear shift fork. See how badly worn it is. My guess is, you know, a lot of these drag, track, whatever people, they reverse the shift order. So they flip the shifter upside down so it's 1 up and 5 down, so they can bang those gears quicker. And to me, that's exactly what it looks like. This is the second gear shifter fork, so you know, you're putting a lot of force as you're pushing down on that lever, and it's just eating away at this fork. The gears look good, but the fork was just worn out pretty badly. This one fork was $105 new. I wouldn't trust buying a used one. I mean, it's a wearable item, so I just said to heck with it, and I bought a new one. So $105 there. And then here are all the main bearings. They sell, I don't know why they do this, but they sell the main bearings in halves. So you know, you got to buy 2 of these to get a whole main bearing, you know, times 5, of course. So you need 10 of these, and use your manual. If you're going to go in this and rip into your engine, you can't just throw any main bearings in there. All these cases have different sizes because you know they're being casted and machined differently within thousandths of an inch of each other. So you're going to have a variation of case sizes. So they size, the crankshafts are all made the same, and they size the case bearings to the crankshaft, the both upper and lowers. So each bearing is different. On this particular one, you have case numbers here. Mine is A, B. So the 4 A's that are on this case, pretty much per manual, I needed 4 sets of black coated bearings, and on the B section, which is this main bearing here, I needed a brown coated bearing. So I got 1 brown coated bearing, or a set I should say, and then 4 black coated bearings. And that's all these in the box. So they're pretty easy to open up. Like I said, these Hayabusa engines are pretty simple to split open. You don't have to take the upper section apart. Although you can replace the main bearings without disassembling everything. This one main bearing is a little on the tough side because you got the cam chain right here and it's tensioned. So all I did was, let me grab the tool. I mean, I'll get more in depth in this on the other engine. I still got to pull the engine out of the Hayabusa that the transmission is locked up. But I just put this together off camera just to get it done so I can get this in the engine, because I'm running out of time to sell this bike for the spring season, because by this time, you know, most everybody has already spent their money or bought their bike already, so I'm trying to rush. So all I did to replace the main bearing on this first one was kind of pry up just a little. Don't get aggressive. You know, you just pry up a little bit, push a little bit, and it'll lift tension the cam chain a little bit more to where it'll lift up the main, so you can kind of pick at this bearing and it'll slide right out. I did remove the connecting rod caps on all 4 of them, loosened them up. so you can get a little more wiggle room out of the crank so you can replace the bearings easier. But I did it without removing any of the timing chain, and it's all in time, so that was pretty simple. And of course, the output shaft. This was the output shaft that was in it. You can see that. I'm off camera here. This is the output shaft that was in it. It literally sheared right off. And this sits here, and then the bearing sits here. It has to be pressed off. The rest of this, it's just gears, shims, and 3 snap ring. So you need a set of snap ring pliers, and that's it. That's your specialty tool there. 3 snap rings, and then the rest of the gears just literally pop off with the spacers. You know, if you got a good memory, go for it. I don't, so I got the manual here to make sure where all the gears and spacers went. You do need a press, though. You're not going to be able to get this off the bearing and this bushing without a press. Go, you know, pick up a Harbor Freight 12-ton. You can buy them cheap, $100. Or I'm using my Harbor Freight 20-ton. I think I paid $200 for it. So it's a very useful tool. Or you can just bring it to a shop and they'll press it off for you if you don't have a press. But that I'm curious to know what force did that. And you know, I really didn't get an explanation from the owner. You know, he just said his son drove the bike and he was popping wheelies and the chain broke, and I guess it got wedged into the case and just sheared the edge of it off because it got jammed and it couldn't spin anymore. But you know the story with sellers. They'll bullshit you till the end comes near. You know, I never listened to them, so my guess is he probably overheated this a little bit, and that popping of the clutch, and you know the rest of the story there. It's you know, the main bearings look good. The main bearings were pretty good. There was some scoring on there, that's why I replaced them. The main bearings were like $150 for the set. It was kind of crazy. OEM main bearings. There was a lot of Chinese main bearings on eBay, but I don't trust them, especially on something that important as main bearings. So I went with Suzuki OEM main bearings. The connecting rods look good. Assembly lubed the connecting rod bearings and the main bearings. Replaced the output shaft. And I replaced that one fork tube, or not two, but one fork. So here is the fork I replaced. So, you know, $107 later, you know, for one fork. These hayabusa parts are not cheap. And then I think I found the output shaft locally. Nice guy. I bought it on eBay and locally picked it up, and that was, I don't know, $75 just for the output shaft. Everybody wants $500 plus just for the whole transmission. So I managed to fix the transmission for, you know, $75 output shaft and the $105 or $107 fork. And then the $150 was just cheap insurance for the main bearings. So we're going to get ready to put this thing back together, and let's get it going here. I'm running out of time to get this thing on market to sell. All right, next on the list is cleaning it up. I'm going to clean up everything here, the surface, and then I got to put the sealer, the RTV, on the mating surface here, and then I'm going to add more assembly lube to the mains, and to the bearings in the transmission, because you know, they've been sitting. I had to clean them with hot water, warm water, and I just WD-40'd them, which, you know, it's literally like water anyway. So I want to make sure those don't start up dry. Okay, let me look at the manual and see where this RTV is going here. I'll bore you with the searching, and then we'll get more in depth when we yank that other engine. I may take that other engine all the way apart, and just so you guys can see what it looks like all apart. You know, there's plenty of videos on, you know, Hayabusas taken apart, so I just figured I have this spare motor. I'll go into it and see what's wrong with it, fix it, and sell it, because when this engine is in the Hayabusa and I sell the Hayabusa, I'm gonna have more money than it's actually worth in used condition. So the other motor in the engine, I'm gonna have to sell to make a profit on this bike, because I paid way too much. All right, sit tight while I do some search, and we'll see where the RTV needs to go. Okay, really quick, those main bearings, here's the page. On the crankshaft, it has a bunch of letters, and on the lower or upper case, it has a bunch of letters as well, and those correlate to which main bearings you need, which color. So they have different sizes. So you got the crankshaft journal code, which is here, and then you have the crankcase housing code. So my codes were 4 A's and 1 B, and then on my crankshaft was the same. I had all B's on mine, just like the illustration in the manual. So 4 A's and all B's, that was 4 black coated main bearings, and then I had the all B's and the 1B on the housing itself, the upper housing. So then one bearing I ordered was brown color coded. So I had 4 black and 1 brown, and that's how you determine your main bearings for that particular case. Okay, I just thought I'd show you that to you guys, and let me continue looking for the RTV side, where the RTV goes on this damn thing. All right, found the page. Looks like the upper crankcase gets a little RTV right there, and the lower crankcase gets it in most places. So let's get this done, and then it also mentions make sure all the dowels are in the upper, so it doesn't get wedged in, or they don't drop. All right, let's put the RTV on there. It took me a while to clean up the mating surfaces. A good 20-30 minutes to clean those up. So let's put the RTV. It looks like the upper crankcase from here to here, and then most of the lower crankcase on this side. So let's get that done, and then we'll put the cases back together. All right, here we go. I'm gonna put the assembly lube on now. Most importantly, we have to get make sure the transmission is in neutral. Because we have to do the little magic dance, putting the cover on and aligning the shift forks at the same time. That looks about right. Something tells me this is not going to be fun. Shift fork is off. I got the one shift fork, it's not cooperating. Of course, it's hard to get to. Huh. Can't even get in there. Let's try. neutral. Looks like I got that line. Now I gotta get this one. Interesting. Those forks don't seem happy. Interesting. What the heck is going on here? Lined up. You dirty rat bastard. position. Just need a good jiggle. So note to self, put the back side in first. Line up the two shift forks toward the back, and then it'll slide it in, and then you slide that in first, and then you bring the lower case down on top and wiggle it a little bit, and if the forks are lined up, everything will slide right in. But this middle fork here, you do have to move that because it falls down when you're trying to reinstall it. So that's why I had to lift it up and kind of pry it up and put it back in the notch in the drum. Okay, let me see if we still have gears before I close this bad boy up. Alright, that's neutral. So neutral's good. Don't know if that's first or second. That is first. So first is good. Second. Fifth and sixth. And neutral. All right. What a mess. So I made a little box here. I didn't make the box, but I put the fasteners all in order to where they go. We got the bottom ones here. And then bringing them all out. This was my template. So let's run these in. I'm not going to tighten them yet until I look at the torque sequence. This is the little one that goes behind the balancer. I kind of sneak that one in there. It's another thing that I don't see any marks on the balancer, so I got to definitely read up and see how it's clocked. Because I don't see anything on the gear on the flywheel or on the crank, and I don't see anything on the actual balancer itself. Alright, those are all in. Let me read up on the torque spec and the torque sequence, and then I'll be right back to show you guys. Okay, all the bolts are hand tight, and according to the manual, you tighten the crankshaft, crankcase, journal bolts first, and then you go back and tighten the surrounding bolts. So initial torque is on the crankshaft bolts, they are 18 Newton meters and then 32 Newton meters. And we're following, I don't know if you can see this, we're following this pattern here. And then once this is done, then we'll do the surrounding bolts. Crankshaft journal, 9mm. Final setting is 32 Newton meters. Of course. All right. So now we can go back and tighten the rest of them. So A is going to be 6mm bolts, 6 Newton meters, not 11 Newton meters. Then you have the 8mm bolts. And for some reason you have one 10mm bolt. I'm not sure why that's 10mm, but so 8mm is 13 initial and then 26. doesn't show an order. It just says tighten them, so I'll tighten them inward out. It. What's this 10 millimeter? Is 28. That's initial setting. Small ones are 6 Newton meters. Man, I don't even know if this goes down that far. It's going to make noise. Yeah, it's such a low setting. It's not even clicking. Newton meters is 18, 16, 15. I don't have a wrench, torque wrench that goes that low, so we'll just hand tighten those. I don't want to risk stripping them. So we're going to go back to the 8 millimeter bolts, and the second run is 26 Newton meters. Last 10 millimeter bolt is 50 Newton meters. Ah, whew, that is not clicking. I feel like I'm gonna snap it. Ah, there we go. That was sketchy. Random 10 millimeter bolt. One 10 millimeter bolt out of all of them. Not sure why they did that. I guess that's why I'm not an engineer. Alright, so now we have to flip this over and get the top bolts that go on the upper case. And just a note, there is, it's not on this side of course, there's a couple of pins here, detents. These will fall out. These are, there's another spring in the shaft here, and that tells, these detents are for the sensor, the gear position sensor, and when you move the engine around they do fall out. So can you see that? Just be careful, they go the spring goes in there, and then one of the detents go in there, and then there's another spring in here on the top one, and then the other detent goes in there. So just be careful, because they will fall out. Looks like that spring's already in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little assembly lube or grease to hold them in there. Sorry, it's hard to do this with one hand here. All right, let me see if I get the flashlight in there. All right, so you can see those detents now. Right here, that's where they go, 1 and 2. The one spring was still in there in the center, and the other spring fell out on the top. So I'll put some grease on there to stop it from falling back out. All right, let's flip this thing over and put the bolts on the top. All right, let's flip back over. Same thing with the top side. I made a little template. Some of these bolts do have washers in there. The manual does show it, but for the sake of struggling, I just made a template on the box, and boom, bam, you're done. No guessing about it. I'll reuse these templates for the other engine because that's what we're going to have to come apart. So same thing here, same torque sequence. These are the 8mm bolts. They're all 8mm except for the little 1/6mm, which I'll hand tight. And they're going to get initial 13 Newton meter torque initial, and then 26. Put them in hand tight first. I do not see a sequence in this book. It doesn't show a sequence, a torque sequence, so we're just gonna tighten them center out. I'm going to call that 6mm done. And initial is 13. Final is 26. I like that. Ones with the washers are not torquing down. Add a little assembly lube in there. Alright, it's looking like an engine again. So at this point now we can just assemble all the accessories, clutch, sensors, oil pan, you name it. It'll go back together in about 30 or so minutes. This video is running pretty long, so I'm going to cut it short. And the next time you see this engine, it will be completely assembled and ready to go into the bike again. And then I'll get another video before we install this one of pulling the old one. If you guys really want to see that. Probably boring TV, but anyway, like, subscribe, guys, please, so I can make you more content. I know Hayabusas are a dime a dozen. There's probably 100 of these videos on YouTube for Hayabusas, but I do appreciate it if you guys do like and subscribe, and that way I can keep doing this. But I'll get more bikes, of course. If I can't sell this one, then we'll boost it, so to say. But I'm gonna try and sell it because I'm out of room, as you can see. But if I can't, I'm not giving it away. I can't afford to give these bikes away. So I have to sell them for a profit in order to purchase something else to work on for you guys for some content. But anyway, I'm rambling on. I'll see you next time. Like and subscribe.